What's going on, guys? Hit Squad here again, back at it with another video. In this video, we're going to talk about the New York Giants signing Austin Mack to the active roster and in a corresponding move, releasing wide receiver Damion Ratley. Now, before we get into Austin Mack, Damion Ratley, he really hasn't worked out for the Giants, as you guys can already tell. He had that costly penalty last week against Dallas, but he really hasn't fit this scheme as we hoped. I know a lot of Giants fans have been banging their hands on the table, wanting more receivers to be on the active roster because I believe we only have 4, and that's not really a lot. You really see 4 to 6, but 4 just isn't a lot. Obviously, with Sterling Shepard being out with that toe injury, we haven't really provided the pieces that Daniel Jones needs in order for him to succeed. I'm not expecting Austin Mack to make that big of a difference, but I want to see what we have on this roster. When you look across the board, obviously Darius Slayton, I was one of the Giants fans that said that he could possibly be a number 1 wide receiver. I think it's clear at this point that he's definitely a solid number 2. I want to see what we have in Austin Mack. Coming out of college, he looked pretty solid. He's not the fastest receiver, but he has some good hands. He's a good route runner. Provides some length as well as some height to the roster. I think Darius Slayton is our tallest receiver, standing at, I think he's 6 foot or 6'1". But we really don't have height on this roster. Now, we do have some players on the practice squad like Alex Bachman, Benjamin Victor, which I'm kind of surprised that a player like Alex Bachman hasn't been activated to the active roster yet. He looked really good from what we saw. He looked like he was in the right place at the right time. But we got to see what we have on this roster. I know a lot of Giants fans want us to go out and get an Allen Robertson, maybe go trade for A.J. Green. I personally don't want to trade for A.J. Green. While A.J. Green is a phenomenal player, he's a great wide receiver, he is riddled with injuries, and he's also up there in age. Allen Robertson, I don't want to deal with another Leonard Williams situation where we're trading for a player on the last year of their contract when we could get them in free agency possibly in the next season. So if we're going to have any chance with Allen Robinson, I would like to wait until next season to see, okay, if we could probably get him at a market price. Allen Robinson's still a solid wide receiver at age 28. He makes bad quarterbacks look really good. He's been able to put up the numbers that he's had with bad quarterbacks. You can make the argument that his best quarterback right now has been Nick Foles, and Nick Foles has only played 2 games with the Chicago Bears. Now, going into Austin Mack, like I said, I'm not expecting him to make that big of a difference on the roster, but I do think that he could help us in ways that maybe Damion Ratley couldn't. Damion Ratley wasn't, like I said, the fastest receiver. He did have that costly penalty that prevented that Daniel Jones to Darius Slayton touchdown, which was unfortunate, but it was still a penalty at the end of the day. And we need receivers that can cause separation. Again, he's not the fastest receiver, but I do think that he is definitely an upgrade over Damion Ratley. We need to see what we have on this roster. This is a year for evaluation. And we didn't draft any wide receivers. All the receivers that we had, for the most part, that we got this year were all undrafted rookies. And we need to see what we have. If a player like Austin Mack doesn't work out, I expect them to activate Alex Bachman. I expect the Giants at this point to just see what they have on this roster. Sterling Shepard with that toe injury, I believe he's still in the IR. He's a great receiver, but riddled with injuries as well. Golden Tate is up there in age. He doesn't have the separation he once had. And really the only targets that Daniel Jones has to go to is Darius Slayton and Evan Ingram. And that's not really helping him at all. So I'm really excited to see what Austin Mack can do on this roster. I think that going into this game against the Redskins, they don't have the best secondary. They have a good front 7, but they don't have the best secondary. So I would like to see them take advantage of that. Historically speaking, when you look at it, Daniel Jones plays fairly well against the Washington Redskins. And, we just really got to see how this works out. Again, I'm excited to see what Austin Mack can do. And, if this doesn't work out, I expect them to just see what players they have on the practice squad. I'm not expecting them to go out in the free agent market and pick up some receivers. Unfortunately, I just don't see that happening. But let me know what you guys think below. Do you like them activating Austin Mack to the active roster? I'm personally a fan for it. We just got to see how this plays out. This is Brooklyn Hit Squad. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.